Rob, we've got some A24 news here.
Uh-oh.
I think that's pretty cool. Let me bring up the story. Texas Chainsaw Massacre show and movie is on the way from A24. Now, ordinarily, if this wasn't A24, I would just be like, okay, whatever, But this is kind of interesting. So, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre finally has more gas in the tank as A24 has started out working on a TV series and movie based on the iconic horror franchise. The company behind Marty Supreme, of course, which is actually now the highest grossing domestic A24 movie. As it moves into China now for its worldwide dominance. And Euphoria is said to have kickstarted a fresh run of projects set in one of horror's most brutal universes after acquiring the rights. Expect to see the TV series take form first. Though plot detail and release dates and casting information for both projects are under wraps. Now, we'll get further into this, but to touch on, I'm a little like, okay, we lead with a TV series. That I feel a little leery about that, because is that telling audiences you had to do homework with the TV series before they launch the movie?
Yeah.
We have no idea yet, but that's just a little bit of a concern. But let me read on real quick here. Although much of its creative team is still coming together, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre show has found help in Top Gun Maverick's Glenn Powell, okay, and the Long Walk writer J.T. Moliner. But he didn't just write The Long Walk; he directed one of Rob's and one of our favorite movies of the year came out, Strange Darling. If you haven't seen Strange Darling, check it out.
Knockout.
Yeah. The former is definitely best known for his work as an actor, but he'll just be executive producing for this. That's at least they say Glenn Powell's only executive producing for now. I don't know. Powell went on to say, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is one of my favorite films. It defined a generation of horror films. And over half a century after its release, it remains one of the definitive movies of my home state. He's honored to have Barnstorm help bring in a new chapter for such an iconic title and franchise with a marquee home in A24. Based on what he said, I kind of feel like Glenn Powell might just be a fan of the kitschy 80s film Summer School with Mark Harmon.
Which is a great movie.
I love Summer School.
Guys, we want to take a second and thank the sponsor of today's episode, PrizePicks. Well, the big game is almost here, and there's no better way to cash in during America's biggest sporting event than with PrizePicks, where it always feels good to be right. With the football season coming to a close, this is your last chance to jump into football action before next year, and PrizePicks is making it easy by giving you $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. What I've always loved about PrizePicks is how simple it is. You're just picking more or less on player projections, building your lineup, and rooting at home while you watch the game. I also really like their early payouts feature. If a player gets off to a hot start, you can cash out before the game even ends. And with the new social feed, you can follow other players, copy lineups that you like, or use them as inspiration for your own. So don't miss out. Download the PrizePicks app today and use the code CAMPEA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CAMPEA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right.
But anyway, we can touch on some more about this story, but what do you think about this so far?
Okay. The first movie that I ever worked on was the Leatherface, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3.
Oh, wow.
I was the art department production assistant.
Is that the one where they have the radio station and
no,
oh, okay.
Viggo Mortensen was in it.
Okay, yeah.
And New Line thought that the Texas Chainsaw franchise was going to replace the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, which was kind of running out of steam. Because Nightmare began in 84, and I love the Nightmare franchise. They had just finished The Dream Child, Nightmare on Elm Street 5, and I actually worked on that for a couple of days, cleaning it up. And then I watched them make the movie. And Dave Scow, who went on to write The Crow, wrote a banger script. But when they put that movie into post, they ran into huge problems with the rating board, the ratings board. It got rated X multiple times. And the violence, I mean, Ken Foray from Dawn of the Dead was in it, and he literally had his face chainsawed off. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
The thing is, the problem, I think, with the Texas Chainsaw franchise is that it is very unsavory. You can watch Nightmare on Elm Street, and it's fun. You don't care. Freddy Krueger might be a burnt child molesting, malevolent monster that murders teenagers, but there is a fantasy element to the Nightmare franchise.
Based
that
on
is
that
fun.
description, I feel like there's some people in this world that are living doing that.
Well, and like the Hellraiser franchise, the Cenobites are fantasy characters. They
Sure.
come from the Leviathan's hell and all that. But the Texas Chainsaw Massacre family, Leatherface and his ilk, comes out of the real story of Ed Gein, the cannibal killer. It's very difficult to turn. You can see like Tobe Hooper did it with Chainsaw Massacre 2 and turned it into kind of a farce.
Right.
And not a lot of people dig that. The first Texas Chainsaw Massacre is one of the great horror films of all time, even to this day.
I agree.
There's a power in that film.
You get a weird feeling when you're watching it.
Oh my God. And the thing is, it's not pleasant. Now,
It's raw. It's raw.
It's raw, and it's not. And so that's the trap you run into. New Line ran into that trap because they realized the nature of these people, the crimes are so hideous that it's tough because you don't want to neuter it. Now, that said, J.T. Mulner, Strange Darling, and Roy Lee responsible for recently. That guy, Roy Lee's one of my heroes. His films grossed $2.5 billion last year. He was a producer on Minecraft. He was a producer of Weapons. Companion, which came out in January. I mean, How to Train Your Dragon. I mean, he gets involved with the best franchises, the best projects. He works with the best people.
Yeah.
And he was responsible for getting Strange Darling and Barbarian made. And then J.T. Mulner came in and wrote The Long Walk, which he also produced. So you have an incredible creative team that I believe in. And I think that whatever they're going to plan, it'll probably be pretty good. I just think that personally, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise, look, how many have there been now? There's even been a Leatherface remake. There was Texas Chainsaw at the beginning. They remade, Michael Bay's company made a remake of Texas Chainsaw, and they made it slick and they made all the people in it pretty, but it's hard to make those movies fun because what's happening, the actual slaughter of human beings in those movies, it's hard to push it into a fantasy context where you're like, that movie was hilarious. Like, I love Primate. People got eviscerated in that movie.
Yeah.
But it was fun. Whereas the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies are, by definition,
not fun. You literally feel like you need to rescue these people.
Yes. And I think that is the problem that you have to surmount.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe our civilizations become so vicious that, people will wallow in that muck. But, good luck. I can't wait to see what they do with the franchise. I have fond memories of working on that movie. Leatherface was one of the most fun jobs I ever had. I just left USC. Mm-hmm. What am I going to do this summer? I got a phone call like a week out of film school. I'm like, yeah, all right.
Yeah.
So,
well, it is kind of reassuring that the original co-writer, who is Kim Henkel, is executive producing as well.
Yeah.
And she does go on to say, like, I've never been interested in remaking a perfect film. Oh yeah, yes, but when they say a perfect film, it's like, well, I don't know about perfect film. It's a perfect tone, and it's haunting, but the acting delivery, there was some want.
But
there,
I mean, peak verisimilitude. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, being able to create something, the feeling like Robert Eggers did that, and like The Witch, to have anybody who's talented enough. But look, Strange Darling is one of the great banger genre.
It
genre
builds
titles.
Tension, and the sound mix on that is incredible as well.
Yeah,
I mean, the technical side of it, but
they know what they're doing. That was a really surprising film. As was Barbarian, as was Weapons. I mean,
yeah.
Roy Lee is the man.
What I liked about it is that, and I hope they stick to this, is like these people weren't hunters. Everything that happened is these teens stumbled into this bad situation. And even Leatherface when you first see him, he literally stumbles into his first.
Yeah.
So I just kind of hope it is more realistic like that, where it's like, oh, well, what the heck? And I'm like, why are you on our property? What do you do? You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to see Leatherface be Michael Myers hunting people.
No.
That's not
and
what
it's
he
interesting.
is.
A24 is doing the Crystal Lake series. I wish, unfortunately, Brian Fuller was doing that. And that's Brian Fuller's vision for that series was incredible. The scripts they wrote for that show were incredible, and I'm sorry we didn't get to see that. But it's interesting to watch Blumhouse and now I guess A24 competing to keep these franchise pictures alive. You know, these franchise. You've got Exorcist. Flanagan's doing Exorcist over at Blumhouse.
Yeah.
And then you've got Friday the 13th and Texas Chainsaw, which is what New Line did, but now they're over at A24. So it's pretty wild.
Yeah, I almost covered the Exorcist story, but just for time purposes, this seemed a little more, a little more interesting for what it's divulging. But what do you guys think? Are you guys excited for an A24 led Texas Chainsaw Massacre reboot? It mentions the series is going to be the forefront, and then following up with a film. Let us know what you feel about this in the comments.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget, we have a daily podcast called the John Campea Show podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice. Go and subscribe to it today so it'll be there when you need it.